The alien officer touched a human child. The council witnessed the result. Part 1. The diplomatic summit. The space station called Terminus Prime was the largest thing humans had ever seen. It floated in the empty space between star systems, far from any planet or sun. The station was old. Some said it was built before humans learned to make fire. Now it served as the meeting place for the Galactic Council, where hundreds of alien species came to talk, argue, and make peace. Captain Park Do-hyun stood near the entrance of the Grand Assembly Hall. He wore his black uniform and watched everything with careful eyes. He was 42 years old, with gray hair at his temples and a calm face that rarely showed emotion. But those who knew him understood that his stillness was not weakness. It was control. Do-hyun was the head of security for the human delegation. His job was simple: keep the ambassador safe. Keep everyone safe. Today, that job was more important than ever. Humans were new to the galaxy. Only 15 years ago, they had discovered faster than light travel. Only 10 years ago, they had met their first aliens. The Galactic Council still called them a juvenile species, like children who had just learned to walk. Many alien races did not trust humans. Some feared them. Others simply thought they were not important. The Torvan were one of the races that feared humans. They were tall creatures, covered in gray scales like lizards. Their eyes were yellow and cold. They had ruled a large empire for thousands of years, and they did not like sharing power with newcomers. For months, they had been pushing the council to limit human expansion. They wanted to keep humans small and weak. Today, the council would vote on new trade agreements. It was supposed to be a peaceful day. Ambassador Park Do-hyun walked through the hall with grace and confidence. She was Do-hyun's younger sister, though they looked nothing alike. She had soft features and a warm smile that made other species feel comfortable. She was good at her job. She made friends easily and enemies slowly. But today, she had done something unusual. She had brought her daughter. Sora was 7 years old. She had big eyes and black hair tied in 2 small ponytails. She wore a yellow dress that her mother had bought on Earth before they left. She held her mother's hand and looked at everything with wonder. The aliens around her were strange and beautiful. Some had 4 arms. Some floated in the air. One species looked like living crystals that sang when they moved. Sora wanted to see everything. Do-hyun watched his niece with soft eyes. He loved that little girl more than anything in the universe. When she was born, he had held her in his arms and made a silent promise. He would protect her, always. Lieutenant Kim Yuno walked up beside him. She was young, only 28, but she was one of the best soldiers Do-hyun had ever trained. Her eyes were sharp, and she noticed things that others missed. The Torvan delegation arrived. She said quietly, "Commander Vethrak is with them." Do-hyun's jaw tightened. He knew that name. Vethrak was a military officer with a bad reputation. He was aggressive and proud. He believed that strength was the only thing that mattered in the universe. He had killed before, many times, and he enjoyed it. "Keep your eyes on him," Do-hyun said. "Already am, sir." Inside the assembly hall, the session began. Ambassador Jian took her seat among the other representatives. Sora sat beside her, trying to be quiet and good. But the meeting was long and boring for a child. The aliens spoke in languages she did not understand. The translation device in her ear turned their words into sounds, but the sounds meant nothing to her young mind. She began to fidget. She looked around at the beautiful room. The ceiling was made of glass, and through it she could see the stars. Real stars, millions of them, floating in the black ocean of space. Then she saw something interesting. Near the back of the hall, there was a doorway. Through it, she could see a corridor with glowing walls. The walls changed colors slowly, blue to green to purple. It was like a rainbow made of light. Sora tugged her mother's sleeve, Mama, can I look at the pretty walls? Jian looked down at her daughter. The corridor was just outside the hall, still within sight of the guards. It seems safe enough. Stay where I can see you, she whispered. Don't go far. Sora nodded happily and slipped away from her seat. She walked to the doorway and stepped into the corridor. The walls were even more beautiful up close. She reached out and touched them. They were warm, like sunshine. She giggled and walked a little further, following the changing colors. She did not notice that she had turned a corner. She did not notice that her mother could no longer see her. Commander Vethrak had left the assembly hall early. He was bored and angry. The diplomatic talks were a waste of time. Humans should be crushed, not negotiated with. He walked through the corridors alone, his heavy footsteps echoing on the metal floor. Then he saw the human child. She was small and alone, touching the walls like she had never seen light before. She was weak, helpless, everything that Vethrak despised, but she was also valuable. A slow smile spread across his scaled face. If the humans wanted to bring children to the council, they should learn that children could be used. A hostage would give the Torvan power. A scared human ambassador would agree to anything. He stepped forward and grabbed Sora's arm. His claws were sharp. They dug into her soft skin. Sora cried out in pain and fear. She looked up at the monster holding her and did not understand what was happening. She only knew that it hurt. Be quiet, little creature, Vethrak hissed. But Sora could not be quiet. She was scared and in pain. She screamed. And somewhere in the station, Captain Park Do-yeon heard his niece's voice through his communication device. His blood turned to ice. Then it turned to fire. The alien officer touched a human child. The council witnessed the result. Part 2. The response. Captain Park Do-yeon did not think. He did not plan. He simply moved. One moment he was standing at the entrance of the assembly hall. The next moment he was running. His legs carried him faster than most aliens had ever seen a creature move. The other species in the corridor jumped out of his way. They had never seen a human run like this. It was not the running of someone who was scared. It was the running of something hunting. Lieutenant Kim Yuna saw her captain disappear around a corner. She spoke into her communicator immediately. All units, code red. Captain is moving. Follow him now. She ran after him, but she could not keep up. Do-yeon was faster than anyone she had ever known. In the corridor with the glowing walls, Sora was crying. Tears ran down her face. Her arm hurt badly where the alien's claws dug into her skin. She could see small drops of blood forming around the sharp points. Please, she whispered. Please, let me go. Commander Vethrak laughed. It was a cold sound, like rocks scraping together. Your mother will do what I say now, he told her. Humans are weak. They care too much about their young. This makes them easy to control. He tightened his grip. Sora screamed again. 4 Torvan guards stood behind their commander. They were large soldiers, each one carrying weapons and wearing armor. They had fought in many battles and killed many enemies. They were not afraid of anything. They should have been afraid. Do-yeon came around the corner like a ghost. He made no sound. His face showed no anger, no fear, no emotion at all. His eyes were empty and focused, like a machine designed for one purpose. He saw his niece. He saw the blood on her arm. He saw the alien holding her. Something ancient woke up inside him. It was older than civilization. It was older than language. It was the thing that made humans dangerous. Not their weapons, not their ships, but this feeling, this absolute certainty that they would protect their children no matter what. Do-yeon did not shout. He did not threaten. He simply spoke in a quiet voice. Release her, now. Vethrak turned and saw the human. He was not impressed. Humans were small and soft. They had no claws, no scales, no natural weapons. This one did not even have a gun in his hands. Or what? Vethrak laughed. Your species is weak. You have no power here. I am a commander of the Torvan Empire. You are nothing. He squeezed Sora's arm harder. She cried out in pain. Dark bruises began to form on her skin. Do-hyun watched the bruises appear. Something clicked off inside him. The last bit of hesitation. The last bit of mercy. You have 3 seconds, he said. Vethrak laughed again and looked at his guards. Kill this fool. The 4 Torvan soldiers moved forward. They were trained warriors. They had killed hundreds of enemies in their long careers. They raised their weapons and advanced on the single human standing before them. What happened next took exactly 3.7 seconds. The first guard swung his weapon at Do-hyun's head. Do-hyun ducked under the blow and struck the guard's throat with his palm. The guard could not breathe. He fell. The second guard tried to grab Do-hyun from behind. Do-hyun spun, caught the guard's arm, and twisted. The arm broke with a loud crack. The guard screamed and dropped. The third guard raised his gun. Do-hyun was already moving. He knocked the gun away and kicked the guard's knee. The joint bent the wrong way. The guard collapsed. The fourth guard was faster than the others. He almost managed to fire his weapon. Almost. Do-hyun grabbed the gun, turned it around, and hit the guard in the face with it. The guard fell unconscious before he touched the floor. 4 Torvan warriors. 3.7 seconds. None of them dead, but none of them moving. Vethrak watched with wide eyes. He had never seen anything move that fast. He had never seen violence that precise. It was not fighting. It was something else. Something terrifying. For the first time in his long life, he felt fear. He still held Sora. His claws still dug into her arm. Perhaps he thought she would protect him. Perhaps he thought the human would not risk hurting the child. He was wrong. Do-hyun stepped over the fallen guards. He walked toward Vethrak slowly. There was no hurry now. The guards were down. The commander was alone. I told you to release her, Do-hyun said. His voice was still quiet. Still calm. Stay back. Vethrak shouted. I will kill her. I will tear her arm off. Do-hyun did not stop walking. No, you will not. He reached Vethrak and looked up at the alien. Vethrak was taller by almost 2 feet. He had claws and scales and teeth like knives. He should have been the dangerous one. But standing there, looking into Do-hyun's empty eyes, Vethrak understood something terrible. This human was not going to negotiate. He was not going to beg. He was not going to stop. Do-hyun grabbed Vethrak's arm, the one holding Sora. His grip was strong, stronger than Vethrak expected. With his other hand, Do-hyun carefully removed Vethrak's claws from his niece's skin. One by one. When Sora was free, Do-hyun pushed her gently away. Run to the hall, little one, he said softly. Find your mother. Sora ran. Do-hyun turned back to Vethrak. He still held the alien's arm. You hurt her, Do-hyun said. You made her bleed. You made her cry. I am a commander of the Torvan Empire, Vethrak said, his voice shaking now. There will be consequences. Your people will pay for this. Do-hyun nodded slowly. There will be consequences. He looked at Vethrak's arm. The same arm that had grabbed Sora. The same arm that had left bruises on her skin. Then he broke it. The sound echoed through the corridor. Vethrak screamed in pain and fell to his knees. His arm hung at a wrong angle, bent in the middle where arms should not bend. Do-hyun released him and stepped back. He did not smile. He did not gloat. He simply stood there, waiting. Lieutenant Yuna arrived with a team of human soldiers. They secured the area quickly. Dr. Choi Yoonji was with them, and she ran to find Sora and check her injuries. Other aliens began to gather. They had heard the screams. They had heard the fight. Now they came to see what had happened. They found 4 Torvan guards on the ground, disabled but alive. They found Commander Vethrak on his knees, holding his broken arm and crying. And they found a single human standing among them, not even breathing hard. The aliens looked at each other with new understanding. Humans were not weak. They had simply never been given a reason to show their strength. Until now. Word spread quickly through Terminus Prime. Within minutes, the entire Galactic Council knew what had happened in the corridor with the glowing walls. Within an hour, every species in the station was talking about the human who had destroyed 5 Torvan warriors in less than 4 seconds. But what they remembered most was not the violence. It was the look in his eyes when he saw the child being hurt. Empty, cold, absolutely certain. That was the face of a human protecting its young. And it was the most terrifying thing many of them had ever seen. The alien officer touched a human child. The council witnessed the result. Part 3. The council's judgment. The Grand Assembly Hall was full of noise. Hundreds of alien species talked and argued and shouted. The air was thick with tension. What had happened in the corridor was all anyone could think about. High Arbiter Melisande floated at the center of the hall. She was an Ellerai, an ancient species that looked like flowing water given solid form. Her body shifted and changed colors as her emotions moved through her. She was over 2,000 years old and had led the council for 3 centuries. She had seen wars and peace, death and birth, the rise and fall of empires. But she had never seen anything quite like this. "Order," she called out, her voice filling the hall without effort. "We will have order." The noise slowly died down. All eyes turned to the center of the room. On one side stood the Torvan delegation. Elder Ambassador Krathel was at their head. He was older than Vethrak, with darker scales and clever eyes. Unlike his younger officer, he knew how to play political games. And he intended to win this one. "Aye, Arbiter," Krathel said, his voice smooth and reasonable. "We demand justice." A human attacked a Torvan officer without cause. Commander Vethrak Ass' arm is broken in 3 places. "This is an act of war." Whispers filled the hall. War was a serious word. On the other side stood the human delegation. Ambassador Park Jion sat with her daughter on her lap. Little Sora had bandages on her arm where the claws had cut her. She was not crying anymore, but her eyes were red and tired. She leaned against her mother and tried to be brave. Captain Do-yoon stood behind them. His face showed nothing. His hands were folded behind his back. He looked like a statue made of stone. Lieutenant Yuna stood beside him, along with the rest of the human security team. They were calm and quiet, but everyone in the room could feel something coming from them. It was not anger. It was not fear. It was readiness. They were ready to fight. All of them, instantly. "Ambassador Park," High Arbiter Melisande said, "how do you respond to these charges?" Jian stood up slowly. She held Sora's hand and let the whole council see her daughter's bandaged arm. "My daughter is 7 years old," she said. Her voice was steady, but there was steel beneath it. Commander Vethrak grabbed her alone in a corridor. He hurt her. He made her bleed. He was going to use her as a hostage against my people. "Lies," Krathel said. The commander was simply questioning the child about. "I have the security footage," Jion interrupted. The hall went silent. "Let us see it," High Arbiter Melisande said. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed the corridor with the glowing walls. It showed little Sora touching the lights and laughing. It showed Commander Vethrak approaching her from behind. It showed him grabbing her arm, his claws digging into her skin. It showed her face twist in pain. It showed her scream. Many aliens in the hall looked away. Children were precious to most species. Seeing one hurt was difficult to watch. Then the footage showed Captain Do-hyun arriving. The aliens watched him move through the guards. They watched him break Vethrak's arm. They counted the seconds on the display, 3.7 seconds. The hall was completely silent when the footage ended. Counselor Ishara spoke first. She was from a species that looked like giant insects, with many eyes and a hard shell. Her people valued justice above all else. "I noticed something," she said. "The human captain did not kill anyone. He disabled the guards. He broke the commander's arm in exactly the same place where the commander grabbed the child. This was not random violence. This was measured, precise. He could have killed them all. He chose not to." Krathel tried to speak, but High Arbiter Melisande raised her hand. "Captain Do-hyun," she said, "I wish to understand. May I read your mind?" "Only the moment when you heard the child scream. Nothing more." Do-hyun looked at Ambassador Jeon. She nodded slightly. He turned back to the High Arbiter. "You have my permission." Melisande floated toward him. She reached out with her consciousness and touched his mind. Just for a moment. Just a few seconds after Sora's scream, she pulled back suddenly. Her body flashed red and orange, colors of shock and surprise. Several council members gasped. They had never seen her react like this. "What did you see?" Counselor Ishara asked. Melisande took a moment to compose herself. When she spoke, her voice was different, softer, more careful. When the child screamed, there was no thought in his mind. No fear, no anger, no calculation. There was only purpose. Every part of him became focused on one thing: protect the child. Nothing else existed. Nothing else mattered. She paused and looked around the hall. I also sensed something else. Something disturbing. Every human in this station felt the same thing at the same moment. When that child screamed, they all felt it. They all responded. They are connected to each other in a way I do not fully understand. Dr. Choi Yoonji stepped forward. She was the human delegation's doctor and scientist. She was small and quiet, but very smart. "May I explain, High Arbiter?" "Please." Yoonji looked around at all the alien faces watching her. Many of them feared humans now. She needed to help them understand. "Humans evolved on a dangerous planet," she said. "We were not the strongest creatures. We had no claws, no armor, no venom. We survived because we worked together. We protected each other, especially our children." She touched the hologram controls, and an image of Earth appeared. For millions of years, human children who were not protected did not survive. Human adults who did not protect children did not pass on their traits. So this instinct became very strong in us. It is not something we think about. It is something we are. "But the child was not Captain Do-hyun's daughter," another counselor said. "Why would he risk his life for someone else's offspring?" Yoonji smiled sadly. "You do not understand. To humans, all children are our children. When we see a child in danger, any child, we feel it in our bodies. Our hearts beat faster. Our muscles become stronger. Our minds become clear. We do not choose this. It simply happens. This is why humans are dangerous," Krathel said loudly. "They cannot control themselves. They are animals driven by instinct." "No," High Arbiter Melisande said. "I saw his mind. He was in complete control. He chose how much force to use. He chose not to kill. The instinct gave him strength. But he decided how to use it." She turned to face the whole council. "Consider what we have learned today. When a human child is threatened, humans do not run away. They do not negotiate. They do not calculate the odds. They simply respond. All of them. Together." She looked at the Torvon delegation. Commander Vethrak, hurt one human child. And in response, one human disabled 5 Torvan warriors in less than 4 seconds without killing any of them. What do you think would happen if you hurt more children? What do you think all the humans in this galaxy would do? The hall was silent. Ambassador Jian stood up again, still holding Sora's hand. "We did not come here to make enemies," she said. "We came here to make friends. My daughter came with me because I wanted to show you that humans are peaceful, that we trust you, that we want to share the galaxy with you." She looked at Commander Vethrak, who sat in the corner with his arm in a medical device. "But if you hurt our children, we will respond. Not because we are animals, not because we cannot control ourselves, but because protecting the innocent is what makes us human. It is the best part of who we are, and we will never apologize for it." Little Sora tugged her mother's hand. Jian bent down to listen to her whisper. Then the ambassador smiled. "My daughter wants you to know something," she said to the council. "She says she is not angry at the alien who hurt her. She is sad for him, because he must be very lonely to be so mean." Many aliens in the hall felt their hearts move. This small human child, who had been hurt and scared, was showing kindness to her attacker. High Arbiter Melisande looked at the child for a long moment. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "we have been measuring the wrong things about humanity." The alien officer touched a human child. The council witnessed the result. Part 4. The Reckoning 3. Days had passed since the incident. The council was still arguing about what to do. But before they could reach a decision, something else happened. The Torvan fleet arrived. 20 warships dropped out of hyperspace near Terminus Prime. They were massive vessels, built for destruction. Each one carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. And at the head of this fleet was High Commander Zulveth. He was commander, Vethrak's father. The station's alarms began to sound. Aliens ran through the corridors, afraid and confused. The council gathered in the assembly hall again, but this time there was real fear in the air. High Commander Zulveth's face appeared on the main screen. He was old, much older than his son, with scars covering his scales. His eyes were cold and cruel. He had commanded the Torvan military for 60 years. He had won many wars. He had never lost. "Galactic Council," he said, his voice deep and threatening. "One of your protected species attacked my son, broke his bones, humiliated him. This cannot stand." High Arbiter Melisande spoke carefully. "High Commander, your son attacked a human child first. We have the footage. The council has seen it." "I do not care about footage," Zulveth growled. "I do not care about a human child. I care about Torvan honor, and that honor demands satisfaction." He leaned forward, his scarred face filling the screen. "Give me the human captain who hurt my son. Give him to me now, or I will destroy this station with everyone on it." The hall erupted in panic. 20 Torvan warships could easily destroy Terminus Prime. The station had shields, but nothing that could stop that much firepower. But one group in the hall did not panic. The humans. Ambassador Jian stood calmly. Captain Doyen stood behind her, his face still and quiet. Lieutenant Yuna and the other soldiers did not even flinch. They looked at the screen with the same empty, focused look that Do-hyun had shown in the corridor. "May I respond, High Arbiter?" Jian asked. Melisande nodded. Gyeon looked at the screen. "High Commander Zulveth, you have 20 ships. You think this makes you strong, but I want to show you something." She touched the controls, and another image appeared beside Zulveth's face. It was Admiral No Seojin, commander of the human fleet. She was a woman in her 50s, with short gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore a military uniform covered in medals. "Admiral No," Jian said, "please tell the High Commander what has been happening since the incident." Admiral No smiled. It was not a friendly smile. With pleasure, Ambassador. She touched her own controls, and the screen filled with information. Ship movements, communication records, fleet positions. "High Commander," Admiral No said, "do you know what humans do when someone hurts one of our children?" "I do not care what humans do." "You should. Let me show you." The display changed to show Earth. The blue and green planet floated in space. Beautiful and peaceful. This is Earth, 3 days ago. Right after the news about Sora reached home, the image zoomed in to show buildings on the surface. Lines of people stretched around every block. These are military recruitment centers. In the first 24 hours after the news broke, more humans volunteered for military service than in the previous 5 years combined. Zulveth's eyes narrowed slightly. The display changed again, showing other planets. These are our colony worlds. Every single one of them began preparing for war immediately. Factories switched to military production without being ordered. Civilians demanded to help. Another change. Ships in space. These are human merchant vessels, cargo ships, transport ships, mining ships. Not military at all. When they heard what happened, they changed course. All of them. They are all coming here. Right now. The display showed a map of the galaxy. Tiny dots of light were moving from every direction toward one point. Terminus Prime. In 24 hours, there will be over 300 human ships at this station. In 72 hours, there will be over 2,000. In 1 week, there will be more human ships here than the Torvan Empire has in its entire fleet. Admiral No leaned forward, her eyes like ice. And these are just the ships that could leave immediately. Back on Earth, every shipyard is working day and night. Every factory is running at full speed. Every human old enough to fight is asking how they can help. She paused. "You hurt one of our children, High Commander. One little girl. And now every human in this galaxy is answering the call." The hall was completely silent. The aliens looked at each other in shock. This was not normal. This was not how species behaved. One child had been hurt, and billions of humans were responding like it was personal because to them, it was Zulveth tried to laugh. "You think your cargo ships and volunteers frighten me? I have 20 warships, 20. And you are welcome to use them," Admiral No said. "You can destroy this station. You can kill everyone here. But then what? The humans will keep coming. They will not stop. They will not negotiate. They will not accept surrender. You hurt one of our children. There is no price high enough to pay for that. There is no victory that will satisfy us." High Arbiter Melisande finally understood. She had touched Captain Dohyun's mind. She had felt that protective instinct in one human. Now she was seeing it in an entire species. "High Commander," she said, "I believe I must show you something else." She closed her eyes and reached out with her telepathic powers. She touched the minds of every human on the station. Then she shared what she felt with the entire council. It was like touching 1,000 fires. Every human mind was burning with the same feeling. Not anger, not hatred. Something deeper. Something older. A need to protect. A willingness to die. A certainty that this was right. And behind those 1,000 minds, she could feel more. Millions more. Billions more. All across the galaxy, human minds were connected by this feeling. They did not need to communicate. They did not need to organize. They simply knew that one of their children had been hurt, and they were responding. All of them. Together. Melisande opened her eyes. Her body was pale from the effort. "They are not bluffing, High Commander. They cannot bluff. This is not a choice they are making. This is what they are." Little Sora had been watching everything from her mother's arms. Now she slipped down and walked forward. toward the big screen where Zulveth's face still glared at them all. She looked up at the scarred alien, who commanded 20 warships. He could kill her with one order. He could destroy everyone she loved with a word. She was not afraid. "Mr. Alien?" she said in her small voice. Zulveth looked down at her. "What? My Uncle Doyen broke your son's arm. But he didn't hurt him that bad." Uncle was being nice. The hall was silent. "What did you say?" Zulveth demanded. "My uncle is really strong," Sora continued. "He could have hurt your son much worse. But he didn't. He only broke his arm because your son hurt my arm." She held up her bandaged arm to show him. He was being fair. Zulveth stared at the tiny human child. High Arbiter Melisande spoke quietly. "She is correct, High Commander. I watched the footage many times. Your son grabbed the child with his right arm. Captain Dohen broke your son's right arm. The exact same location. He could have killed everyone in that corridor. But he chose restraint." She let that sink in. "Now think about what will happen if you do not choose restraint. If you attack this station, if you kill that child, the humans will come for you. All of them. And they will not be restrained. They will not be fair. They will not stop until your entire species is ash." Zulveth's face was hard to read. His scales hid his emotions. But his silence told everyone what they needed to know. He was thinking. He was, for the first time in 60 years, afraid. "1 week," he finally said. "The Council has 1 week to give me a satisfactory response. If they do not, I will return." The screen went dark. Outside, the Torvan fleet began to move away from the station. They did not leave. Not completely. They stayed at the edge of the system, waiting. But they did not attack. And in the hall, surrounded by hundreds of alien species, a little girl named Sora smiled and waved at the empty screen. "Goodbye, Mr. Alien," she said. "I hope you feel better soon." Captain Doyen walked up behind her and put his hand gently on her shoulder. His face was still calm, still quiet. But there was something in his eyes now, pride. "You did good, little one," he said softly. Sora looked up at him and smiled. "Can we go home soon, Uncle? I miss my room." "Soon," he promised. "Very soon?" The alien officer touched a human child. The Council witnessed the result Part 5. The new understanding 1 month had passed. The Torvan fleet was gone. Not just from the edge of the system, but from all disputed territories near human space. High Commander Zulveth had retreated without firing a single shot. Some said he was afraid. Others said he was wise. Perhaps both things were true. The footage of what happened had spread across the galaxy. Every species on every planet had seen the little girl in the corridor. They had seen the alien grab her. They had seen her scream. And they had seen the human captain respond. The video had been watched more times than any recording in galactic history. But it was not the violence that people remembered most. It was the look on Do-Yoon's face. That empty, certain look. The look of someone who would do anything, sacrifice anything, to protect the child. And then there was the speech by Admiral No. The images of human ships coming from every corner of the galaxy. The numbers. The volunteers. The factories working day and night. For the first time, the galaxy understood something important about humans. They were not dangerous because they were violent. They were dangerous because they loved, and they loved fiercely. The Council had been meeting every day since the incident. There were many arguments and debates. But finally, they reached a decision. High Arbiter Melisande called for attention in the assembly hall. This time, there was no fear in the air. Instead, there was something new, something that felt almost like hope. "The Galactic Council has voted," she announced. "We have passed a new law, the first of its kind in galactic history. She paused to let her words sink in. The Protection of Juvenile Sapiens Act. From this day forward, any act of violence against a child of any species will be considered the highest crime. Any individual who harms a child will be arrested and tried before the full council. Any species that allows its members to harm children will face severe consequences. The hall was quiet as everyone listened. This law was proposed by the human delegation, Melisande continued. It was passed with unanimous support. Every species voted yes. Even the Torvan. Ambassador Jian stood up. Sora was not with her today. The little girl was in the station's garden, playing with children from other species. That was where she belonged, playing, being a child, not standing in political halls, watching adults argue. Thank you, High Arbiter, Jian said. But we have another proposal. She looked around at all the alien faces watching her. Many species have asked us why humans protect children so strongly, why we are willing to fight and die for the young. Dr. Choi explained the science, but I want to explain the feeling. She touched our heart. When I look at a child, any child, I see possibility. I see hope. I see the future. Children are not weak. They are precious. Every species that loves its young understands this. And I believe, despite everything that has happened, that most species in this galaxy love their young. She smiled. The Council has asked if humans would be willing to help train galactic peacekeeping forces. We have agreed, but not to teach violence. We want to teach protection. We want to help other species learn what we have learned through millions of years of evolution. How to stand between the innocent and those who would hurt them. How to be guardians. High Arbiter Melisande nodded slowly. The Council accepts this proposal. The first Galactic Protection Force will be established within the year. Human trainers will work with volunteers from every species. In the station's garden, Captain Do-hyun sat on a bench and watched the children play. Sora was running across the grass with several other younglings. An LRI child floated beside her, its body shifting through soft colors of joy. A young member of Counselor Ishara's species walked carefully on its many legs, trying to keep up. And there was a Torvan child too. His name was Seketh. He was 10 years old. He had been on the station with his father when everything happened. He had watched Commander Vethrak grab the human girl. He had watched the human captain respond. And he had been thinking about it ever since. The other Torvan had told him that humans were evil, that they were enemies, that the human captain was a monster who had attacked a Torvan officer without cause. But Seketh had seen the footage. He had watched it many times. He had seen Vethrak grab the little girl. He had heard her scream. He had seen the fear and pain on her face, and he had seen the human come to save her. Seketh did not understand why his people thought the human was wrong. If someone had grabbed him like that, he would have wanted someone to save him too. Now he played with the human child who had been hurt. She was not afraid of him. She did not hate him. She just wanted to play. It was confusing. And wonderful. An LRI mother walked up to Captain Do-hyun. She was the parent of the child playing with Sora. Her body shifted through calm blues and curious greens. May I sit with you? She asked. Do-hyun nodded. She settled beside him on the bench and watched the children play. I have a question, she said. Your species, you would truly fight for any child? Not just your own? Do-hyun watched Sora laugh as she chased the LRI child across the grass. Yes, he said simply. But why? The other child is not your blood, not your family. Why risk your life? Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, just a little. I do not know any other way to be. The LRI mother thought about this. Then she watched her own child playing with the human girl, and she understood. Some things did not need complicated explanations. Some things were just true. High Arbiter Melisande observed the garden from a balcony above. She was recording her thoughts into a personal log, as she had done for centuries. "Note for the archives," she spoke softly. "Entry 7412. Subject, the human species." She paused, watching the children play below. "We measured humans by their weapons. We counted their ships. We calculated their territorial expansion. We watched their soldiers and their technology, and we asked ourselves, are they a threat?" She smiled, something she had not done in many years. "We were asking the wrong questions. We should not have measured what humans can destroy. We should have measured what they protect." Below, Sora fell while running. The young Torvan, Seketh, helped her up. She thanked him, and they continued playing. The Torvan Empire learned this lesson through pain. Let us learn it through wisdom. Let us remember what we have seen. A child was hurt, and a species responded. Not with rage, not with chaos, but with cold, perfect certainty. She watched Dohyun on the bench below. He looked peaceful now, soft, like a normal man watching children play in a garden. Humans are not dangerous because they are violent. They are dangerous because they love. They love their children. They love their families. They love their friends. And they love with a power that shakes the foundations of empires. Sora ran up to her uncle with a flower she had picked. It was a strange flower, grown in alien soil, with petals that changed color in the light. She gave it to him with a big smile. Dohyun took the flower and looked at it. Then he looked at his niece. For the first time since the incident, he truly smiled. Not a small smile, a real one. One that reached his eyes. "Thank you, little one," he said. "You're welcome, uncle." She kissed his cheek and ran back to play with her new friends. Ambassador Jion walked up and sat beside her brother. She watched her daughter running with children from a dozen different species. She watched the young Torvan playing alongside them. She watched the future being built, one friendship at a time. "The council wants to know something," she said. "What?" "They want to know if humans would help protect children across the galaxy. Not just human children. All children, everywhere." Dohyun watched Sora playing. He watched Seketh helping her climb a small hill. He watched the Ellerai child floating around them, laughing in colors. "Yeah," he said softly. "I think we can do that." And high above the garden, High Arbiter Melisande finished her log entry. Final note. I have lived for 2,000 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species destroy themselves and others. I thought I understood the universe. She watched the human captain hold the flower his niece had given him. She watched him smile at the children playing in the garden. But today I learned something new. The strongest force in the universe is not hate. It is not fear. It is not power or weapons or money. She paused. It is a parent's love for their child. And the humans have shown us that this love can extend to all children, everywhere. Below, the children played. Above, the stars shone. And somewhere in between, the galaxy was changing, because of one small girl and the family who loved her. The end.